What if fear was a sign you were doing something right? Welcome back to the TrailBLAZER Pod. I'm your host, Faye, and each week I bring you stories of Jewish women who are paving bold paths. This week's guest is Michelle Mozes, the rebrand expert. In this episode, we're unpacking personal branding, big picture thinking, and how to build a business that leaves room for real life. Let's dive in.
I'm super excited to chat with you. I enjoy your podcast. I enjoy the guests you have on. So this is a really exciting opportunity. Okay.
The feeling's mutual. You've been on my list. I'm working through my list, reaching out, and I try to do one every week. But then I had Hannah and Rosie from
I love them.
Founded. Yeah, they're the best. And they're talking about obviously you coming to their event and sharing your knowledge over there. And they're like, you need to have Michelle on. I'm like, she's on my list. But then it gave me the motivation to just reach out and be like, let me just get her on before I travel and make sure we have this recorded.
Amazing.
Honestly, pleasure is mine. And then also I saw you're bringing your podcast back, which is super exciting.
Yes, there's all these things that I'm just super excited about. I took a little bit of a break because I was finding myself, which we might get into today, but thank God I'm right where I need to be.
Yeah. I love that because I think sometimes we think we find ourselves in our 20s and then it stops. But I think as you get older, I don't know how old you are, but I'm almost 30. It's you keep going through these periods where you have to find yourself all over again.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, wait till you're in your 30s. It gets even more fun.
It's crazy. It's didn't I go through this already? And then it's just pressing replay all over again. But I think it's what makes life interesting. So yeah.
100%. I think we have to give ourselves permission to keep going through that cycle over and over again. And it's always elevated. It's not I found myself and now I'm reinventing myself. No,
Right.
we're now reinventing into the next level.
Right. Okay. So look at us getting right into it. So I like to start from the very beginning. So I want to understand who Michelle was as a little girl. What was your personality like? And then we can talk about how it evolved to you today.
Okay. So it's loaded, but basically my childhood was really beautiful. Thank God. But I struggled with anxiety since a little child. Thank God I have it managed today, but when I was younger, I was very nervous. I was always bottled up. Public situations made me uncomfortable. I was not the rah-rah kid, never raised my hand in class. I tried to just survive. I survived school. And then in high school, I suffered from depression. So my life was beautiful. My parents were so supportive. Everything was great. But this was an internal struggle that I really went through. And this piece is important because from that moment, when I was in my teens trying to figure out why am I struggling from depression? Why is this happening? Why does it feel like the world is against me? And if anyone's not familiar with depression, what it feels like is that nothing's working. It feels like nothing's working. You're surviving. You're not even living, you're surviving. And nothing can make you happy. Nothing can break the cycle. And I remember my mother just telling me over and over again, only you can make yourself happy. And somehow every time she said that, it resonated more and more with me, where one day it kind of just clicked and I'm like, this is not the life I want to live. I'm wasting time. And just to bring it back a little bit, I believe when I look back on this, I think I suffered from depression because I felt like I was meant for something bigger and I didn't trust myself enough to go after it. So I kept seeing this really big picture for my future and I kept pulling back because I was like, can I, will I? And I kind of felt like everything I was doing in the present wasn't aligned with that life. So
Wow.
I know it's
Very young to deal with that though.
I was 17 and I was like, I'm meant for more. And then when all this was going on, I was also blowing up on the internet as a comic book artist. And I was like, there's more to life than this. Everything I was doing just made me feel, but there's another level, but there's more. So I was never fully satisfied and therefore I shrank back. And I also felt like I needed to control things. I was very type A and I was like, I need to be in control of the situation. I didn't understand the concept of let go and let God yet. That wasn't learned yet.
Yeah, I relate.
Yeah, right? I feel like that needs to be learned through life skills. It's one
Definitely.
thing to be taught it, right? You go to a yeshiva school and they teach you bitachon and you learn how to trust God, right? Let go and let God. And I was like, it's nice, but I didn't know how to apply that. So I look at depression as something that taught me how to live better instead of dwelling on it and being like, yeah, spent a lot of time not being able to get up in the mornings, but it actually was such a blessing that it happened to me so young so that I could pull myself out of it. And now as an adult and as a mom, I'm able to also, when I feel like these signs of like, I have no control over the situation, there's nothing I can do about this right now. It's not about needing to find control or needing to fix the situation. It's about flowing with it and letting go. So I now have these tools.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm nodding my head like, yes, I agree. I think it's very interesting what you said there about, my life was great. My parents were great, because it's two separate things. Your parents can be amazing parents and have external things happening to you that still affect your childhood. So I like that you brought that up, because I think sometimes we're like, how can I complain about this if really their intentions were amazing and they did great it's hard for, I think, especially also like 16, 17, it's you're not yet in a point, I don't have kids, but you're not yet in a point where you can look at it as from an outside perspective and watching people,
Yeah.
So I like that you said that, but I also find it very interesting looking at you and your social media today, how different you are. You really are like fully yourself and doing what you want to do. And I think maybe that does have to do with, like you're saying, going through it at a young age and giving yourself the time to learn and to experiment and to figure it out, right? Because sometimes, I've watched people deal with the things that I deal with at 25, 30, and I think it's a lot harder. And I'm also very grateful that at 20, I was already like, I understand what was happening and I have tools. And so I very much relate to that. And I know you brought up, the comic thing, but I want to just step back a little bit. When you were thinking about, the bigger picture, like this is what I see of my life and I don't know if I can do it. Will I do it? Will I not? But what were you envisioning? I know you're really into, the comics and doing all those things, but your goal, what was your goal?
That's a great question. I have this concept that I teach my clients where you cannot build a brand or a business until you have what I call the BPG, the big picture goal. Because everyone sets micro goals and everyone's like, oh, and I want this to happen this year and I want this to happen in the next 6 months. But even these micro goals have to align with the big picture goal. And when I describe the big picture goal, it's flashes and glimpses into the future. And I remember being really young and I saw myself in bigger spaces. I saw myself doing big work and big things. Like that's when I started thinking like maybe Disney's the right place to be. But I saw myself on stages. I saw myself writing a book. I knew I was going to be published. Ironically, I was published as a comic book artist, but I'm like, no, there's something else. So I saw myself being on shows, being on screen, being in the media. Like I saw this happening, but I couldn't tell you why or how. Right. But I saw myself in that vision. And a lot of these things happened. And like sometimes they happened, but like not the way we expected them to or wanted them to. But here I was like 6 years old and I'm like, I'm meant for something really big. And that never went away. I still dream really big and I still see like the next level of that. But it's like when I discuss the big picture, like sometimes clients come to me and they're like, I don't know exactly what I want. I'm like, perfect. You're not supposed to. Don't make it so specific. But where do you feel a pull of going? And these were the glimpses and the visions that I got. So yeah, that's the concept of big picture goal. So I knew like I wanted to do something big. But I also felt like I was a contradiction to my dreams because I was so bottled up and so quiet and so shy and an introvert. And if someone would strike up a conversation with me, my hands would shake and my heart would race. And I'm like, how am I going to be that person if this is who I am today? And I remember trying to fight it. I would resist who I was. I didn't want to be myself because I'm like, well, if I'm me, I can't be her. Right? And instead of thinking like, but I can evolve. I was like, I just want to reinvent myself and be someone entirely different. This is where people get into an identity crisis. I have clients at this age, like I was 6 going through this, but I have clients now like in their 20s, 30s, 40s going through this. And that's because when what you're doing today is not an embodiment of who you see yourself becoming, you get into an identity crisis.
Yes. There's this like juxtaposition of your dream self and your current self.
Yeah.
And it's like there's this huge gap. It's like, how do I get there? Do I get there by going through life and evolving, or do I get there by making myself that person without doing any of the work, right? Like skipping the steps.
Exactly. Yeah. And there are steps, and sometimes people want to skip it or push it away and be like, no, if I just fake it till I make it, I'll get there. I don't believe in faking it till you make it. I believe in evolving and doing all the messy middle things to get there.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
I had a different, like similar but different, like I saw myself in these places, or I would want to take on these roles. And just as an example, like I wanted to join the military, and I was, training
Wow.
with like in college with the office over there 3 times a week. And to be that person, the best version of that person, I'm a very intense type A person. I know you can relate. I thought I have to kind of cut out all the noise in my life and the creativity and everything that I was up until then, like writing poetry and drawing. Like I was like, this does not fit with this image that I am trying to portray now, or the career that I want. And so I really isolated my life into like this one lane, like military, 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 like work out, go to the gym, go train. And it took me a really long time to be like, actually, you can have all of it at the same time. And it's what makes you interesting. And it
Yeah.
also is what allows you to live a more fulfilled life, and not just like this one lane life. But it took me a very long time.
I love that you brought that up, Faye, because this is a difference between hustling hard to burnout and hustling hard toward your dreams. And it's the piece where we lose ourselves that causes burnout. But when we are able to achieve the dream while still maintaining who we are, we didn't have to change, right? But we get to still be ourselves and evolve through the process, then it's hustling to burnout. It's hustling to our dreams. And I love that you brought that up. It's so true.
I think this is the title for the episode.
Yeah.
It's such a good distinction, I think, because we're, hustle culture is obviously so prominent right now. But if you just reframe the next part of that sentence, hustling for or hustling to, it changes everything. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's why I have the podcast, right? So that people can listen to people like you who've experienced it, and like tap into noticing maybe habits or things that they're doing right now in their life that's like going to lead to a bad place, versus how do I pivot that into something healthy?
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. But I want to understand, like, what drew you to animation? Was this just something that you were like were you always doodling and you're like, this makes sense? Was there something
Yeah.
that
As simple as that.
okay.
It was a form of self-expression for me. And I enjoyed it. It was therapeutic, and I didn't have to interact with anyone to do it. It was perfect for who I was. So I would draw a lot. I would make little comic books, and then one day I posted on the internet, and people found it. And I didn't expect that to happen at all. I was really just like, I drew them in class. The story became so big. I wrote these like romantic comedy stories, and then I just like pivoted straight into comedy. And it just allowed me to have fun and have a good time. And again, like I was trying to tie my present self to my future self. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to be out there and working in media or being in the media, then art equals media, because I can go into working into animation. And the only way I could describe this is that I always wanted to just create something bigger than me. And when I watched movies and I watched Disney films, they always like made me feel inspired and gave me chills, not because of the story or anything. I didn't get into like the plot line, but it's like a team made this. Someone
Something out of
thought
nothing.
of this. Yeah, something out of nothing. Exactly that. Like someone thought of this story and there was a team behind it. It's like something about it just made me feel like I want that. I want to create something bigger than me. So I would draw and I would create, and I was like, I just want to, I don't know, I'll do the steps and create something bigger than myself. And drawing was just the easiest outlet because I could just do it on my own time, not engage with other people. It was perfect.
Makes a lot of sense. So, you're talking about, this you posted it online and it kind of blew up, right? You said you even got fan mail, if I
Yeah,
read
from
correctly.
all over the world,
Yeah,
Malaysia and all over the US,
that's
like
crazy.
everywhere.
So cool. But outsiders would say, that's making it, right? But you didn't feel that at all. And so I feel like, you kind of obviously alluded to this feeling as like since being a kid, right? Like you're not feeling like this is where you want to be. But in that moment, how did you reconcile like people know me, people know my work, but this is just not it.
So here's something about me. When I get into monotonous cycles, I'm like, I need to break it. I don't like monotony. I don't like every day to feel the same. And creating comics kept me trapped in this monotonous cycle where I didn't feel like I was changing lives, where each day was different. Someone was impacted. So as amazing as the fan mail was and the messages in my inbox and the comments I would get, It was amazing, but I didn't feel fulfilled. I was like, great, you're enjoying my comics, but I didn't like change your life. Like, let's be real.
Wow.
So I wanted to do something that would inspire people. So again, like the way the Disney movies gave me full body chills, I was like, I want to do that for other people. I want to give them full body chills. I want them to consume something I create and then feel like my life has changed. Something, and I didn't feel like my comics were doing that. I don't, maybe they were, but I wasn't getting
Right.
fulfillment from it.
Which is the most important. It's not about what other people get from it, it's what you get from it, right? But I think
Yeah,
it's amazing because I think a lot of people would sit back and be like, "Oh, I'm doing well."
right.
People know me. But I think it takes a specific type of personality, or maybe, you could learn the skill, but like tapping into the deeper of, am I actually waking up happy? And the thing of like busy isn't the same as fulfillment. And my mother says I came out of the womb crying that I'm bored, and so I would try to fill my day with as much as possible, but then go to bed feeling like, wait, I still didn't accomplish anything, like an existential crisis in a
Yeah.
way. Since I'm a little girl, my mother would be like, read a book, read this. I'm like, you don't understand the boredom that I'm talking about, right? But with that comes the negative of trying to fill your day with so many different things, but you're not actually doing anything to like fill your bucket of fulfillment.
So that's exactly what writing comics felt like for me.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Exactly. Like the way you're describing it, yes, you articulated that perfectly.
Okay.
I was
See?
still bored.
Yeah, okay, I totally get it then. I want to talk to you about that journey from that moment to, kind of making this career change. And at some point along the way, I don't know the timeline, you got offered this pretty prestigious teaching job and you turned it down. And so there's so many themes here that people can take away, like saying no to something that
Yeah.
seems, pretty good, turning down a career that people know you for. Like, just if you can share your experience and maybe give people advice of like knowing, or even when you do know, saying no to something that looks good on paper but maybe
Oh,
isn't the best for you.
yeah. I feel like that theme has come up in so many ways in my life. Again, it really comes down to that BPG. If you have clarity on where you're headed and anything that pops up doesn't align with that, then it's wasting your time and pulling you away from where you want to go. It's not actually moving you forward. So I got that teaching job. It was a professor I was going to teach illustration, and I was 20, 21. Like I remember, like it was at like the last year of college, and the chairman pulled me in with a couple of professors sitting in the room, and they're like, we're not supposed to do this because you need to have a master's, but would you like to teach a
Wow.
class? And I was like, what?
That's
So they knew
that
about
doesn't
my
happen.
comics. Yeah, no, it was crazy. And I was like, I won't teach the class. And I remember like processing it and thinking, whoa, this is so cool. Because I mean, I also enjoy teaching. I taught on the side to make money and just to like, have a job when I was really young. And I was like, okay, this aligns with me teaching. But I'm like, but in the future, I'm not teaching. I'm teaching people and I'm helping them become the best version of themselves, but not like this. It almost felt like they were capping me and it felt
Mm.
stifling, not expansive. So when you get an opportunity and you're not sure, right? Like sometimes people just want to say yes because on paper it looks good. What does it feel like in your body? Does it feel expansive and exciting? And do you see a future compounding on top of that offer? Or does it feel like it's restricting you and holding you back and it's making you second guess where you're headed? And that's the latter was how I felt. And I was like, I can't take this on. And then I was like, well, I'll get you a great professor. I had just finished a course in SVA. And I was like, I know someone amazing who we can bring into this college. And they ended up hiring this person that I recommended. And I ended up taking the class and I loved it. And I was able to hone my illustration skills. But even then, like, I remember thinking, this is not forever. This is not forever. I know things are going to change. I just didn't know how, right? Like, a lot of people get stuck on the how. Like, I know I want to go here. How am I going to get there? You don't build dreams on step by steps. You build it through moving, through aligned action, seeing it over and over again, and just knowing that the things you say yes and no to are very important today because you get to determine how fast you get there.
Wow. Something that I think we dismiss a lot is like trusting your intuition and your gut.
Yes.
And I think especially women, we have a really strong gut,
Yes.
but and we're not really taught to tap into it. I think we're taught like, no, be more logical, be more practical, be more. And I am very much, like that, and I have to constantly remind myself that, my intuition is a lot stronger, and a lot of times when I ignore it, I see the consequences really, really quickly.
Right?
I think it's amazing that you had this constantly, it sounds like, from when you're a very little girl, of like, no, I feel this physically in my body, like this is not supposed to be for me, and like learning to just trust it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, like, to anyone listening now, like, just start to notice patterns of how your body responds to things outside of you, because you learn to see the patterns. And then when it comes up again, you're like, that's the feeling. That's the feeling. And
Yeah.
you might be tempted to ignore it and try to make the practical, logical decision. But no, your body's speaking to you. Your body knows.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Okay, so what happened from, that to kind of the career you've created today?
Okay, so we can like jump 10 years, because
Okay.
what I did was I didn't see fulfillment in comics. I felt like I was capped. I didn't see myself becoming a professor. I graduated college and I ended up getting a graphic design job, like somewhere in my senior or junior year. I don't remember when it was, but somewhere in college, I got a graphic design job. And then I started working with agencies who were hiring me as a freelancer for their clients. And then I noticed this pattern of their clients getting so excited with my work and their sales going crazy as a result of my ideas and my work. And things were like really good. Like, I had great relationships with these agencies that I was working with. I had great relationships with my own clients that I was also freelancing for. I took on like every job, anything that came my way. I just became the yes girl, because I'm like, right now I need to learn. I went from illustrator to graphic designer. I'm like, let me just learn. Yeah, most of it was self-taught. I just kind of like went with my instincts. I saw that I had a knack for it. I kind of just taught myself and went for it. And then for 10 years, I did this on autopilot, working for brands, and then feeling like, no, but there's something bigger than this. And then I slipped into like a little bit of depression part 2, where I was like, this is not the life I want. Now I'm in my 20s, my late 20s, and I'm like, this is not it. There's something so much bigger in store for me. And I needed to make another change. I didn't choose to become a coach, but a lot of people liked the ideas I was sharing on social media. And they were like, it's not just business. It's interesting. Like, you talk about mindset. And I wasn't even talking about like bitachon and Kabbalah yet, which is like more recent, but people were like, I like the way you talk about like changing the way you think to make more money. Like, this is interesting. Like, this was like a new idea before the business coaching industry exploded. But I was doing this before anyone else, before anyone that I was following was doing it. And my clients started wanting consulting, and then people were hiring me for coaching. And then I'm like, okay, this feels in alignment with where I'm headed. This is feeling good. So I just allowed myself to lean into it. And now here I am today, but like, I'm trying to keep the long story short, but we can get into any details you want. But yeah, it was like the people told me what they wanted, and I just let them steer it, because I'm like, remember like back in the comic situation, I was like, I'm not changing lives, but here people were like, my life is different. My relationships are different. I'm a better mom. I'm a better person. I'm making so much more money. And I'm like, wait, I'm onto something here. This is amazing. This feels so good, because it's like when there's this dual fulfillment, you're fulfilled and your client's fulfilled, there's this energy that like cannot even be described, but it's like, it's crazy. It's wild. It's electric. And I'm like, this is what I want more of. This right here. This is what I want.
I love that.
That was like an aha moment for me. And I was like, okay. And then I was able to work through depression through my own mindset. Like, I was saying earlier, like, you need to be an embodiment of your future self. And I'm like, well, if I don't work on myself and I don't become a better version of me, then I can't be a good leader for my clients. So I can't tell someone to do something that I haven't done myself or am not currently working on. Then I feel like I'm lying or I'm a fraud.
Yeah.
So, we become the most qualified to help others when we've done the work. So that's when I started really working on myself. So this is over like the last 7 years. I was just like really doubling down on working on myself. Thank God my mental health is in such a good place. My anxiety is like, what's that? I worked on myself so much, really just by tapping more into myself. Like, I feel like I've been trying to like avoid being me so that I could just, show up as the right person for my clients, especially when I was growing my graphic design business. I was very focused on looking more professional. People will like me if I look like a girl boss and like I'm working so hard and I'm hustling and, and I kind of watered myself down a little bit by coming back to myself and allow myself to fully lead my brand, I was like, okay, this feels aligned. It feels fulfilling. It feels good. And thank God, like things are really good right now.
Wow. It's so beautiful because I think I think I found you on LinkedIn actually way before I started following you on Instagram and like realizing how many connections we have in common. But I
Yeah.
found you on LinkedIn. I think when you see people on LinkedIn or Instagram, it's very easy to just believe that, okay, this is the first idea they had. This is where, they started from here. They got it. Somehow they got something I don't got. And it's like very like almost black and white. Like, yeah, they made it work for themselves. And
Right.
it's hard to think about what came before that and all the work that it took. It's not only on your business but on you. And so like hearing your story, obviously, I did my research and I read, articles on your posts, but when you hear somebody talk about the journey that they went through, it really just, it puts things back into perspective that anyone, if they're really passionate about something or they're really passionate about making something bigger for themselves and they're willing to put in the work, can make it happen. And it's
100%.
cliche, I guess, but it's true, right? Like as I listen to you, I'm obviously very inspired, but it's like it's teaching me like a lot of the doubts and the things that I have about myself and trying to show up a certain way, have this like imposter syndrome, or you want to look a certain way and you see people on LinkedIn in your similar careers that are posting certain things or saying certain things, and it's like, actually that's not what's going to make you stand out, nor is it going to make you successful, because you're going to feel super disaligned. This cognitive dissonance that my dad uses all the time, this term, like the cognitive dissonance, right?
That's
Like this
exactly
is what
it.
I'm portraying and this is what I am. And so I just like thank you for sharing that, because it's really really important, I think, for specifically successful women. I'm going to use
Yes.
successful Jewish women because this is the podcast, to share what it took, like the true journey, because otherwise we're doing a disservice to young women or even older women who are just not yet where they want to be, who look at
Yeah.
you and be like, I guess it's just not for me because she got it and I don't, right? I think it's crucial.
Absolutely. Yeah, people question if they have it, like, is it for me? And they give up before they even fully try. And you mentioned imposter syndrome. That's actually something most people who reach out to me struggle with because they want to wait for proof before they act. They're like, well, if I saw more interest in this, I'd push it more. Or if people had seemed more excited about my launch, I would have sold harder. People don't realize, no, when you sell hard and you are so convicted in what you have to give to the world, and you have a life altering ability, and you impact people and you change their lives and you make them feel like the full body chills like I was seeking, like you give that to people, then the results will come. But people are waiting for that version of you, right? Like people are like, well, I feel like I'm not ready yet and I'm an imposter and I'm not like, it's not me in my real skin. And I'm like, but that's how you create everything falling into place, is being that
Yeah.
person before you feel ready to be that person. And yeah, imposter syndrome means you're just doing it right. You're acting as if
Yeah.
before you have it.
Right.
And
Right.
that's how you get it.
Yeah. So this leads me to my next question. I know you were feeling all these like let's call it butterflies when you were thinking about this, like creating this. Was there any fear or hesitance when you made this change?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's always fear. I want people to understand, like, no one does anything like because they have no fear in their
Right.
body.
Okay.
People who win and get to the goal and grow something big is because they're doing it scared. Most people do it through challenge, through fear, through doubt, through like the hardest times of their lives. That's what molds people to become the best version of themselves. That's what molds them into leaders. That's what makes them seem impressive and confident because they earned it. And yes, I did a lot of things scared. When I stopped doing illustration, was I scared? Yes. When I started running a graphic design business, was I scared? Yes. When I started coaching for the first time, because people asked me to do it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not a coach. I don't know anything about business. Yes, I was terrified. I remember running my first group program, I think 4 or 5 years ago, and like prepping the night before. Like, what if someone asked this? What am I going to answer? Like, I was so scared.
That's type A Michelle there.
Exactly. I'm like, I have to be ready for anything. So yeah, no, everything came with fear and doubt and maybe not. I launched a lot of things just this year alone because also we haven't even gotten to this, but I gave up my successful agency last year. And that was very scary. Did I know it was the right decision? Yes, because it aligned with my bigger picture and it was stifling me and capping me and limiting my potential. So I totally knew I was doing the right thing, but I didn't sleep for weeks.
Yeah.
I was so
Yeah.
scared. I was so scared to do that because I didn't know what was on the other side. And I had to work really, really hard to like pick up my power, pick up my courage. And I kind of had to rebuild myself again internally, not just this outer brand, but on the inside, because I was giving up so much. I was letting go of so much that kept me so stable. And I had like my year laid out for me and I let it go
Wow.
because
So brave. It's so brave.
it was crazy.
Wow.
But brave because you do it scared and that's
Yeah.
how you build courage and confidence.
Yeah, like you're 100% allowed to feel scared. Just do it anyway, right? Don't let that feeling stop you from doing what you think is the right thing. Actually, my husband, he's the one, like, whenever I say, like, oh, I'm so scared, he's like, being scared is a blessing. He says so many people stay stuck in their like routine and they never do anything to challenge themselves, and so they never feel fear, but then they never grow and expand. And he like really reframed it for me. So every time I'm scared, I like vocalize it to him. It frames it differently in your brain when you think of it as there's nothing wrong with feeling it, but also see the bigger picture of like, where is this going to lead you? But I like feel
Exactly.
it in like the pit of my stomach, like I don't know
Oh,
about you, but like
absolutely.
yeah,
I
but it's
literally can't eat
exciting.
or sleep.
Yeah.
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 Right? It's like I tell my clients, like it's so funny you're saying like fear is a good thing because
Yeah.
it signals you're doing something right and you're getting out of that monotonous cycle. Sometimes we have to chase the fear, right? Look for something that makes us afraid. I tell my clients, set a nauseous goal for yourself.
Oh, I
Just
love
it should
that.
make you nauseous, like something so big and out, like feel underqualified.
Yeah.
Set a nauseous goal and go after it.
So smart.
So, right. And like seek the fear, make yourself nervous with fear, nauseous with fear. And then you're breaking out of monotony and you're moving into something that's going to build momentum in your life, in your business, because you're doing it scared. But like seek it because otherwise you're just
Yeah.
going to be stuck. Don't wait for something to come and scare you. Go find
Definitely.
something.
Yeah.
It's really just this matter of like understanding that there's always this next level and we'll always be tested for the next thing that we want. And it's not a punishment. And it's not like, well, I gave you something good, so let's balance it with something
Right.
bad, which by the way, when I was depressed, I really believe that's how the universe worked, which was why I was always so down because I was like, why try? I can't hold
Right.
it, right? You can't hold a good thing. Yeah. Like when you crave that next thing, you will be tested for it and you got to be ready for it, right? You want
Careful what
to
you wish for.
exactly. You want to
Yeah.
make a ton of money. You want this best life. You want that big house. You want that you have these big goals. You will be tested for it. And how hard are you willing to go for the thing you want? Right? Like whenever something happens, like something bad, right? I don't believe in bad. I believe like things are neutral. But if something feels really challenging for me, I ask, who do I get to be right now to prove that I'm ready for what's on the other side of this? Right?
Yeah.
And that's really how I started living my life in the last several years because you could see it as like, no, a challenge. No, I feel defeated. Oh no, this is 10 steps back. Or you can see how can I take 10 steps forward as a result? How can I further leap into what I know I'm meant for? So that's also been like a huge driving force for everything that I've been working on because again, like I tell my clients, like we flow with the chaos. We don't fight it because chaos actually fuels our creativity. It's not holding us back and it's not an excuse to pause, which a lot of people tend to do. It's like, well, I'm busy now, so I can't work on this. I launch harder. I make more money because I'm like, no, let's do this. You want to test me? Let's go. I'm ready. I'm game.
I love
And I've allowed, like, instead of fighting chaos, which a lot of people do, they resist it, they fight it. They're like, this is not supposed to happen right now. Wasn't the way my week was supposed to go. Why is this happening, right? This is all fighting it. This is resistance. But if we just go with it and we say, okay, this is happening for me right now. What can I control? What can I do? And what I personally do in these situations, I create because creativity fuels me, right? Chaos fuels my creativity. Creativity fuels me. And when there's chaos and I just flow with it, I'm like, what can I control? I can control creation. I can control who I am. I can control who I get to be for my clients. I can control how I work through whatever's going on. And I focus on like, we touched upon that. I'm a control freak, right? But I learned how to use that in a healthy way where I focus on what I can control instead of trying to control the things that I can't. Again, that creates resistance. It's like pushing things away. It's not allowing things to flow. It doesn't make room for abundance. It's like literally a block.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that we brought that up because that's super important.
Yeah. You were clearly made to be a coach. It's very obvious.
I just enjoy it.
Yeah, I could tell. So I want to get into, that part of, coaching and brand and all that stuff. But, I'm going to quote you here. You said you've been asked this question. I think it's from one of your Instagram posts. And it's, can a busy Jewish mom really scale her business if she can barely find the time to breathe? And again, I'm not a mom. I don't have that part, but I understand, I've seen women and I've had women on here that I'm like, whoa, how do you do this? Yeah. So how do you respond to this question? And like, what does scaling actually need that we have this misconception about?
Oh, I love this question. So I'm going to answer the second half of that question. What does scaling actually need? Okay. It needs us to not force things to happen. And when we can let go, it's like really this concept of like flowing with the chaos, right? We have busy lives and I work with a lot of busy moms and just busy women in general. Like everyone's busy, right? If we stop trying to fight it and if we stop trying to do more, which we also talked about, like everyone tries to do all the things. What if I do more? I want to stay productive. I'll launch a podcast. I'll launch a course. I'll launch this. I'll launch that. Maybe I'll make more money, right? That's not in alignment with the big picture goal. That's in alignment with hustling hard and trying to get results in the moment. But one thing my clients who do really well have in common is that they're focused on where they're heading and they know that scaling means not working harder, but working smarter, where the work they do expands them. Also create, there's also the strategic part of it where it's like, how can we do this in a way that doesn't drain time, right? Not everything needs so much from you. And there's ways to delegate. There's ways to not offer so many hours to your clients. There's ways to not give everyone all of you. There's boundaries, which is like a huge thing people struggle with. And fixing your boundaries and knowing when to say no, or knowing when to say I'm unavailable for this, or knowing when to not answer your phone or respond to messages, and having set times for things. I'm a huge fan of time blocking, right? So there's the strategic aspect of it. And then there's the energetic aspect, which is not seeing busyness as a block for getting what you want, right? It's not like, oh, I'm so busy, I can't do that. You find time for things you really feel passionate about, right? Yes. So there's the mindset of like removing whatever is blocking you from getting what you want. And sometimes it's just a mindset thing, right? Like, I'm not ready yet, so I'll just say I'm busy, or this feels more important to me right now. My dreams could be on hold, which is fine, by the way. If anyone feels like that, you have permission to put your dreams on hold if you have other things that you want to focus on. That's obviously a priority that you're choosing. We all have freedom of choice. But for me personally, nothing stands in the way of what I want. Not the fear, not the I'm not ready yet. If I'm not ready, I do it prematurely and I sit back and see what happens because that's when you learn really fast. So yes, can we have it all? I truly believe we can. I've done it with my own business where I took my hands-on design skills and turned it into concepts and ideas that I could teach that can help people beyond my one-on-one hands-on presence, where my clients are learning through courses, they're learning through audio trainings, they're learning through group programs. There are so many ways to impact and influence people to become the best version of themselves that doesn't require our hands-on skills. And it's really about like, also I've had clients come to me and they don't see the bigger picture. They're like, if I 10x my goals right now, that would burn me out. It would require everything I've got. And I'm like, that's where you need to do the work. You need to figure out a way. And obviously this is what I help my clients do. And for everyone, this looks different. That's why custom strategies are important. Not a strategy that you found on Google or ChatGPT, but custom strategies are important because how can we allow you to reach more people, change lives in a way that doesn't burn you out, but feels exciting and exhilarating and fun, right? Like a lot of people feel like they just need to do, because that equals sales. Sales are a byproduct of who you get to be and what you build and grow that feels good and purpose-led for you. And I totally believe this. And I saw this change my entire business, my entire life. Like I'm more present as a person, I'm more focused. And I was actually just chatting with my mentor and I was saying like, remember when we started working together and I was making the same amount of money, but I was so burnt out. And I was like, I can't take on another client. I can't do another thing. I can't work another hour. And now I'm able to achieve that with like basically working a couple of days a week, and I'm out a
Wow.
lot. I go shopping, and I have this sense of freedom that I've
Yeah.
never had before.
Wow.
So this is really, it's like people want the strategy. They want the step by step. How can I work smarter, not harder?
Yeah.
I would say it's so much energetics and mindset, because when you believe anything is possible for you, you start just operating differently. Your brain works
Yeah.
differently. You make decisions differently. Everything just starts moving in alignment with that freer version of you who's able to, like, it's not just about the money, right? It's about the life you get to live, and the money comes as a result of that.
Yeah. I love how everything you're talking about that you try to teach your clients is ties so closely to what you experience and everything we talked about in the first half of the
Yeah.
episode. And I think that's what makes you stand out, I think, as a coach, and all your brand strategies and all that, because you've really lived it. I think it really makes a difference with that versus somebody who just is like, let me learn how to be a coach. I've never dealt with this myself. I've never experienced this. I've never been through the journey. It's kind of like, when they say in a relationship, like, you can't love someone else until you learn to love yourself, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it's very clear that it's coming from a very personal place. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I even give this advice to my clients, but when you're creating anything, right? Like if you have a business or you're creating content, it needs to come from a place of serving and wanting to give, because everyone has so much to give. We all have this unique superpower. We all have this ability. I call it impactfluence, the ability to impact and influence people to become the best version of themselves. We all have this gift. Every single person. I help my clients find it if they're not clear on what that is. Some people are clear on what that is, and then they don't know how to use it.
Right.
So there's like
Right.
different ways to like find it and use it and put it out into the world. And I really believe that everyone has the ability to change the world. When we're clear on this and we give and we're creating from a sense of purpose, not because I have to, or what do I need to do to make $10,000 this month, or what's the right thing to say on social media so that I grow a following faster. This will happen if you fully lean into being yourself, and you serve, and you use that superpower, and you make people feel amazing, and you use that gift to change the world. Everything you dream of will come as a result. I can guarantee it, because I lived it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But because the work I do is so embodied, it just feels good. If you're, like we said this earlier, but if you're doing something and you're not embodying it, you're going to feel detached from what you're teaching, what you're doing. It's going to feel like you're forcing it. It's going to feel like hustling for the sake of getting it done, right? So it just brings you right back to that. So it's really important to just do things with soul alignment,
Yeah.
soul-led action.
And this might be the answer to my next question, but you talk about helping clients transform their brand, and I have your quote here, that's why I'm looking to the side, so that it's not just another option. And so what does it mean when a brand is just another option? And when I'm thinking, when two people have the same kind of, like, let's say somebody does photography or somebody makes wigs, right? And it's like, how do you make yours stand out and differentiated from another brand? So like, what's your advice there?
Okay, so this is like my favorite thing to work on with people,
Okay.
because when I went through that phase of like not being myself, because I wanted this like very polished professional graphic design business,
Yeah.
and I just did the things I had to do to look professional, but it wasn't me and it wasn't my own voice. And I remember even looking at another designer's website and seeing the way she would talk, and I'm like, I should talk like that, because then people will take me more seriously. So truly standing out is being the most you've ever been, which is actually a lot easier said than done. Like some people are like, well, I could just be myself. But then when it comes to actually being themselves, they're like, wait, can I really say that? Can I really put this out this way? Can I talk like that?
Yeah.
And they get so nervous. They're like, but I'm supposed to look more professional. I'm supposed to be whatever. Like, they're envisioning like what
Yes.
people really want. Your person really wants you. Your premium dream client wants you. Your audience wants you. And the moment you realize that, it's so much easier to stand out. And this is where, again, this concept of impactfluence comes in, where you're not just your skill. You're not like Faye, you're not just a podcast host, and you're not like, it's not just the business and the work that you do, but there's a way you make people feel that activates them to be a better person. Right? I do this with every single one of my clients. Like I said, some people know what that is, and some people
Right.
are like, wait, I never thought about it like that. And for years, I was just the graphic designer.
Right.
And I charged $75 an hour and then $100 an hour. And then people weren't hiring me anymore because they had cheaper options.
Right.
So then I became just another graphic designer. But I wanted to be the only designer. I wanted to be the only option. So I realized that not only do I need to be more myself, but I need to find what I do differently than any other designer. What is it about my designs that's not like anyone else? And then I realized, like, what if I was the niche? So if I'm myself and I'm the niche, then who would I attract? And then those people know I'm the one for them. So just to put that in like a concrete example, was that I recognize that I'm like this go-getter, big dreamer type of person. And I'm like, what if I worked with people who had successful businesses? Like I had the 6-figure brand designing business, right? I'm like, what if I attracted other 6-figure entrepreneurs who have big goals and dreams, and they know that because their logo is outdated, it's like kind of standing in their way of hitting their next level. But if they had nicer designs for their business and the business was as professional as they were, and it felt like them, and I even say now, like brands should feel like a second skin, right? Like when I create designs, it should feel like you. Not what your brand is supposed to look like, but actually feel like you, because then you show up differently. You don't feel like you're performing, but it becomes self-expression, which is such an important distinction. So standing out is truly about being yourself and finding that deeper superpower. And then that's when I started talking about like success and the mindset and how to get to the next level. And then that started becoming the brand. And then I started attracting people who were like, you know what? I never saw my brand that way. I never thought about design as something that's actually making me hold back from being who I want to be because I don't have the confidence. And I feel like I'm running a better business than what my brand looks like. And then I was designing for people who wanted the designs because they knew that this was the next step to get to where they want to be. And then the results were better because now I was helping people unlock, I was helping people unlock confidence. I was helping people become like the best version of themselves. And they were like, their businesses were exploding and they were publishing things and launching things. And one client came back to me. She's like, I just had a 6-figure launch. And I'm like, what? Like, because they now felt like they were a match for the success that they're meant for. So this is why it's so important to not just be another skill or another service, because there's something so much deeper that you have that your people want. And when you're fully yourself serving it, then people want you. They don't want the service. They're hiring you for you, which is so different than just building a good brand.
Right. Yeah. I think so. Something that we're seeing more and more now is founder-led brands, right? And I think for a while it was just the brand and then there's the founder, and so many people didn't know who the founder is. And it seems like you figured this out before this became a thing.
Yeah.
And like you are your brand and you are your service, because when people look at you and they're like, her energy is what I want to feel.
Right.
That's the reason you come to you versus somebody who just has, branding expertise or whatever,
100%.
So you are your brand, and it's very clear. If you go onto Michelle's Instagram, it's very clear.
I'm glad that you feel that.
Yes, 100%.
But it's funny because influencer culture really planted these ideas in my head. I'm like, what if we're all just influencers?
Right.
But like genuine influencers, like the type where we have this power to help people just explode in life and like live their best life. And oh my gosh, just imagine what we could do. Yeah. So Instagram really helped me like create this idea, but now everyone's becoming an influencer. Everyone's like creating these personal brands, which I think is amazing and magnificent, because I truly believe that personal branding is the way to go.
Yeah. Okay, so to be honest, we didn't touch on a lot of the questions I had specifically, but you kind of answered it because you're so natural in yourself. It just came into your story. So I just want to end off with one question before we have to go.
Sure.
In your opinion, what's one question that business owners or founders should be asking about their business, but just don't, and they're missing out?
What should they be asking that they don't? They should be asking, how can I be more myself in my business?
Okay,
I think people like they want authenticity, but they're not asking for it, right? They're asking, how can this feel easier? How can content creation feel easier? Right? They're asking it in a form of how can this feel easy? How can I make more money without burning myself out? It always comes back down to the root, which is allowing yourself to lead at your highest power as fully as yourself, but nobody's asking that, right? They want
Right.
the quick shortcut fix, but they're not getting to the root of the problem.
Yeah.
And if more people ask, how can I be more myself to grow a business and also live my best life? Be yourself. What do you really want? And be honest with yourself and go get it. That's it. Like that would literally solve all your problems and you'd have the best life ever.
Yeah. I feel like I just had a personal like session with you. I'm excited for people to listen, but I feel like everything you're saying, I needed to hear it today specifically. So excited for people to hear about more of your story and your journey of how you got here. Because again, I think a lot of people are like, oh, Michelle's amazing. You know, like Hannah was telling me, Michelle's really hard to get. Michelle's amazing. Michelle's like, I know that's Michelle, but like there's so much more to you and how you made this happen for yourself that I think we can all tap into the energy that you're creating and be like, maybe I'm meant for more, you know? And I think we all need that once in a while.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Faye.
you
It
so
has been
much.
such a pleasure.
So
I can't wait.
fun.
Yeah, we should do this again. Just a chat.